Zambia was the first of several African countries to hold key elections. Edgar Lungu won the January 20th poll with 48% of the vote. His opponent, Hakainde Hichilema, garnered 46% support. The presidential election was held following the death of President Michael Sata. He died in office in October 2014. Lesotho held snap elections on the 28th of February after parliament was dissolved. The former Prime Minister Pakadi Tamusisidi of the Democratic Congress won the elections. They were originally set for May 2017 but were brought forward against a backdrop of political instability and political mediation by SADC and South Africa. The much anticipated Nigerian elections were finally held on the 28th of March. General Muhammadu Buhari of the All Progressive Congress won the presidency and was inaugurated on May the 29th. Two other West African nations, namely Guinea and Ivory Coast, also went to the polls this year. Ivory Coast incumbent President Alassane Ouattara won a landslide victory with over 80% of the vote. There were elections in Sudan, Ethiopia, Burundi and Tanzania as well. On the 13th of April, the Sudanese people headed to the polls. The turnout was low. Only 46% of the population cast their ballots in the first elections since South Sudan ceded in 2011. President Omar al-Bashir's ruling National Congress won over 90% of the vote in a poll boycotted by opposition parties. On the 24th of May, the ruling Ethiopian People's Revolutionary Democratic Front secured a landslide victory, winning all 546 parliamentary seats. And on the 25th of October, John Mukafuri of Chama Mapinduzi, Tanzania's ruling party, emerged victorious. The continent also had to contend with leaders attempting to extend their stay in power, a move that so many democracies condemned the exercising of undemocratic principles to stay in power. In January, the youth in the Democratic Republic of Congo protested against the government announcement that a draft law would allow Joseph Kabila to remain in power until a national census had been conducted. Kabila has been in power for 14 years. His second term ends in December 2016. More than 40 people have been killed during these protests. In Burundi, after months of protests, President Pierre Nkurunziza walked away after a third term in office. He had served and finished 2 terms from 2005 to 2015. On the 15th of July, Burundians went to the polls. This after a constitutional court ruling in April in favor of Nkurunziza's argument that his term did not count, as he had been elected by a parliament and not the voters. Hundreds of people have been killed and thousands more displaced as the country battles with continuing instability.
We will take necessary actions as we observe and watch the situation, how it evolves. Depending upon the evolution of the situation, we may have to level up our presence and our activities.
In Congo-Brazzaville, a referendum on constitutional change was held on the 25th of October. The proposed changes call for the scrapping of 2 term limits. The outcome favors Sassou Nguesso's bid for a third term. The next presidential elections are scheduled for 2016. Denis Sassou Nguesso has been in power since 1979. In Rwanda, the highest court ruled that President Paul Kagame should be able to run for a third 7-year term. The Supreme Court rejected the challenge from the opposition over Parliament's move to abolish term limits. The continent also saw coup attempts this year. On the 13th of May, Major General Godefroid Niyombare, Burundi's former intelligence chief, stated in a radio address that President Nkurunziza had been removed from office. The Burundian army immediately responded that it had thwarted a coup attempt and arrested the plotters. On the 16th of September, Burkina Faso's Presidential Security Regiment detained the interim president Michael Kafondo and his prime minister Isaac Zida. Attacks continue to be on the rise, with Kenya and Nigeria being the hottest hit. Al-Shabaab militants stormed Garissa University College in Kenya and killed 147 students, including security officers, and wounded hundreds. Al-Shabaab launched several other attacks in the country, killing more than 200 people. Boko Haram continued to terrorize northeastern Nigeria and its neighboring states of Chad, Niger, and Cameroon by launching multiple attacks that killed hundreds of people and displaced thousands. Lesotho and Burundi continue to be pockets of instability in Southern Africa, despite having gone through elections to install new governments. In both countries, the opposition complained of extrajudiciary killings. Lehana Tsotetsi, SABC News, Johannesburg.